Mississippi news and as connected to the Southern Miss program department as you can find. So he put out a hot board, and we're going to talk about it right now. Ben, thank you, man. And I know that there's two things that you want your team to do if you cover them. Win a lot or lose so much that they're replacing a coach and really nowhere in between. So did you find it fun to put a hot board together? Because I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, I do. And, this is a little bit of a different search, I think, because I think to your point, a lot of people after last year, which was the third year under Will Hall for Southern Miss, a lot of people wanted to make a change then. You lost, I think the final score is 52-3 against South Alabama in the 9th or 10th game last year. A lot of people wanted to make a move at that point. And so I think you already had this seed of, okay, who might be the next coach at Southern Miss if this doesn't work, because it was not going that direction. The trajectory was the opposite way. And then when you started out 1-3, your only win, which is still your only win in 2024, was against FCS competition. It was kind of an ugly win. I think Southern Miss people and fans and administration alike have been considering this for longer than you would typically consider it. So, I think it is fun because now we're sort of in the throes of this, but this has been a conversation for what feels like more than a year.
And let's just start going through it. So the first name that you listed to me is eye-popping in a good way. Brian Vincent, who really kind of exploded, quote-unquote, on the scene after that James Madison win. He's the head coach, if you're not familiar, at ULM. So why is he included on here?
Yeah, I think Bryant Vincent is interesting for a number of reasons. The first being that this is his first year as a head coach at ULM. ULM started out 5-1. That was that fifth win was against Southern Miss, and a lot of people started to wonder if you could pull them away from ULM. ULM is the only school in the Sun Belt with a lower athletic budget than Southern Miss, the lowest athletic budget in the country in terms of the latest data. I think he's kind of an obvious one. He's a conference mate. He has the regional ties. He was at UAB for 4 years as the offensive coordinator under Bill Clark, and then he was the interim head coach after Bill Clark retired due to medical reasons.
Yeah, and he was passed over on for that job.
Yes.
And now
went
it's
7-6 as an interim, and a lot of people wanted him as the head coach.
Yeah, and now it's going terribly.
And a lot of people wish they had made a different decision. But the question with Vincent really, him being at a peer program, you wonder if you have enough resources to pull him away, and you're going to have to pay some kind of buyout, right? So sometimes it gets a little fuzzy, the difference in firing buyouts and hiring buyouts, right? But there is going to be some sort of buyout. He makes $600,000 in his current contract at ULM. Will Hall was paid $800,000, but the word is Southern Miss can make whoever's next the highest paid head coach in the Sun Belt. And so this, to me, this name
in the Sun Belt,
yeah. And one of the word is, this has not been obviously confirmed by Jeremy McClain or anything, but as high as 1.4, 1.5, something in that range, which would make the next man, if you get to the very top of that budget, which would make whoever's next one of the highest paid in the G5, top 15-ish, somewhere around there. And so the fact that Bryant Vincent is even in the conversation is encouraging to me as a Southern Miss person, because it means Southern Miss is not messing around. They're not looking for the bargain hire. They're not looking for someone that maybe they can get for a little less if, certain things fall certain ways. If they feel like they have their guy, they're going to spend the money to do it. And I think Bryant Vincent has proven, even if it's over a short period, that he can do it. He added 73 new players to his roster in his first offseason as the ULM head coach. And they're 5-5. They lost 4 straight, last one being a blowout to Auburn. But even to be 5-5, even if they don't reach bowl eligibility, I think the job that Vincent has done as quickly as he's done it is remarkable, and I think he's why he's on the top of a lot of lists, not just the Southern Miss list. He's going to get a lot of attention nationally.
I think one of the names that's very interesting, Ben, is Joe Judge. Now, I don't know if you know, and I don't know how many of our listeners know, that he was going to be the coach at Mississippi State.
Right.
Right up until the New York Giants plucked him away. Yeah. I know that the graphics were printed. I'll put it that way. Now he's at Ole Miss as an analyst with Lane Kiffin, kind of doing that thing after losing his job with the Giants. A former NFL head coach. but at the same time, never coached in college football. So is that, do you feel like that would be a good fit for USM? Don't they need a guy who's kind of been there and done that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the big pieces of this conversation just in general, this entire search, is what direction do you go? Do you continue to go with what you've gone with the last two hires, regional ties, often Southern Miss connected, head coaching experience at the college level, even if it's a lower level, like Will Hall and Jay Hobson both had lower level experience as a head coach? Or do you go completely the opposite direction? Do you go up-and-comer young offensive coordinator who doesn't have head coaching experience but has had success as a coordinator, even if it's over a short period of time? In a lot of ways, Joe Judge doesn't fit either of those, right? He's kind of the wild card. He came up late last week, and that started to be corroborated by a number of different sources that are quality sources. And, I don't know, things change so quickly, but at one point, at least last week, he was in this conversation. And I think it surprised some people. And I also, I think the consensus is a lot of people aren't totally sure how to feel about it because, to your point, his last college coaching position, period, before he was hired by Ole Miss as a senior analyst was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And, obviously he's got the pedigree. He's coached under Saban and Belichick. As an assistant, he has Super Bowl titles and BCS national championships. So the positive would be you would assume a guy like that is well-connected. He could bring in a high-quality staff. I think if he is in the final three, if he is, one of the legitimate candidates in the late going, that's probably going to be the number one reason why they feel really good about the staff and they feel like he is well-connected enough to have success at Southern Miss, even though he has not been a head coach or even a coordinator at the college level. And I think that's kind of the big knock on him.
I'll tell you something funny. I don't know if you knew this or not, but when Judge was linked to Mississippi State, the hot rumor was that his offensive coordinator was going to be Will Hall.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a full circle moment. I think the name that most USM fans who pay attention would be the most excited by is Brennan Marion, the UNLV offensive coordinator. The thing that I would look at that and I would wonder is there are going to be a lot of offensive coordinator jobs available in the power level that are going to pay more than what being head coach at Southern Mississippi would ask. So it's going to be, does he want to be?
That's not a shot at Southern Miss, by the way. It's just objective reality
of the situation. 100%.
Yeah. So is that going to be the big concern? Is like, does he take another, like maybe Oklahoma's offensive coordinator job and lead that into a bigger job than USM, or is he ready to go ahead and take the big chair now?
Yeah, the word is he wants to be a head coach, and over the last couple of days, it seems like the conversation has cooled on him a little bit. But yeah, I think maybe part of that is there is going to be legitimate competition for him. We've heard Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Florida State, of at least who he's gotten maybe some soft interest from, phone calls, whatever that may look like. But this is, it's hard not to be excited about him, a guy who has pioneered this sort of new offensive scheme, the go-go offense, right? The RPO, triple option spread, hybrid type offense, and he's lit it up at UNLV. It's hard to ignore what he's done. He was named the top assistant in the Mountain West. He was a final for the Broyles Award, which is given to the top assistant in college football, period. And UNLV, had a great start and have continued to have a really good year. And so, again, Southern Miss is not going to be the only interest he gets. But Marion is an interesting name, specifically with Jeremy McClain leading this search, because it really is so far. It's really on the opposite end of the spectrum of what Jeremy McClain typically has done, not only in football coaching hires, but in basketball and baseball and even the tertiary sports. He loves regional ties. He loves head coaching experience, or at least typically has in the past. Those are kind of the maybe not most heavily weighted factors, but they have been heavy pieces of the consideration. And if you hire Marion, you kind of throw all of that out the window, right? He's just in his second year as a coordinator, no head coaching experience. He started at the D1 level at Hawaii in 2020, so just 4 years of college coaching experience, period. But what he has done at UNLV, and he was at Texas previously, that's put him in the conversation. I think the reason why a lot of people are excited about him around Southern Miss.
Can you hang through a break?
Absolutely.
We got a couple more candidates board. of Southern Miss head coach candidates. We've already dusted off a few. We talked about Bryant Vincent. We've talked about Joe Judge, Brennan Marion, and then let's go to the next one, Mike Shanahan. Now, this is an interesting candidate because he's been retired from coaching for 11 – wait, not that Mike Shanahan.
Yeah. Same spelling.
Same spelling and everything. Yeah. No relation whatsoever.
Yeah,
Indiana's offensive coordinator, by the way.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
There's no relation?
There's no relation. Yeah.
I'm calling
at the very top
on this one. I gotta Google this.
The very top of his Wikipedia page, it says no relation to Mike Shanahan of the same spelling, former NFL head coach.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, another up-and-coming – did you get that confirmed, hey, Dan?
I got it confirmed. I can't believe it. I thought he was a junior this whole time.
No, he might be on some other boards. I mean, he's getting plenty of interest, but he might be on a few more if he was the younger of the Mike Shanahans.
No idea.
Yeah. But Haydad mentioned a second ago, or maybe one of you mentioned that Brennan Marion maybe was the most exciting to Southern Miss fans. I think at this point in the search, Mike Shanahan might have taken that spot. I mean, it's hard, obviously, to ignore what Indiana has done under Curt Cignetti in year one. And Mike Shanahan has been with Curt Cignetti for 8 years. This might be the 9th year with him on staff. He got his first coordinator gig at James Madison. That was, I believe, James Madison's last year in FCS in 2021. And when they moved up to D1 in the Sun Belt, he remained the offensive coordinator. They were obviously really good in at both levels. And he followed Cignetti to Indiana. And you go back to James Madison, you even go back before that at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. He's had really good offenses the whole way. And I think the fact that he is a Cignetti disciple, I think, is probably the top mark on his resume, just because he is tied with Cignetti, the job that Cignetti has done both at James Madison and Indiana. Now, the question, similar maybe to Bryant Vincent, I think it becomes a money question a little bit because he is becoming and will become, especially if they beat Ohio State this weekend, one of the more popular young offensive coordinators, I think, for a lot of these openings at the Power 4 level, coordinator or head coaching wise. I think he might get some looks in the group of 5 and lower level of Power 4 as a head coach, possibly, just because of the offense that he has had in Indiana and James Madison, and the fact that he's been with Curt Cignetti pretty much the whole way through this rise of Cignetti. He knows, I guess maybe secondhand, but he's been with Cignetti as he has built these programs. He has learned how to traverse the transfer portal and NIL, maybe especially so now that he's at Indiana at the Power 4 level. And so it's just a lot of stuff. I mean, he's coached 3 top 20 offenses, both at James Madison and now at Indiana with the number 15 total offense. And yeah, I mean, I think this is another example of Southern Miss being willing to spend a little extra money that maybe they have in the past, or being able to spend a little extra money, because if you get a Shanahan, you're probably going to have to get in that 1.2, 1.3 range, because that's, where typically some of these offensive coordinator salaries are at the Power 4 level, and you're going to probably have to compete with that.
Last name on the list to me is the most intriguing, because you were talking about Cignetti. I've just come to the conclusion that winners win.
Yeah.
And if you get a winner, then it doesn't really matter where they've coached. They'll figure out a way. Mike Jacobs at Mercer, 42-8 at a Division II school. Goes to another Division II school. He's 32-9. Now he's at Mercer. They're 9-2 and number 7 nationally. He's just a winner. And I don't know anything else about him but his record, but that to me makes him intriguing.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And you talk about Cignetti, and you even talk about guys like G.J. Kinney, who have made that FCS to FBS jump, guys that just tore it up at the FCS level, and that's exactly what he's done. He was, I don't have it in front of me, but I think 42-8 at Notre Dame college, not Notre Dame. Notre Dame
Right.
College in Ohio, 32-9 at Lenore-Rhyne. So just a ridiculous track record of success. And he's come to Mercer. He's got him at 9-2, ranked number 7 in the country. Probably going to make a deep playoff run. And he's got, he obviously has no FBS head coaching experience, but he's got experience at the D1 FBS level as a position coach. He has, next year will be his 22nd year as a college coach, period. And so I think he has built up enough of a pedigree and resume, even at a lower level, to be a serious consideration. And I feel like he would be one of the more quality candidates on this list.
Great stuff. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
And hanging by. We'll do this again as this